There has been a lot of talk this past weekend about WWE stars not being happy backstage. Also, a WWE star has talked about the viewership decline of AEW. Also talks about the brand split. WWE superstar has left. There's a lot of things happening. We're going to uncover it all, so you guys know what to do. Hey, so let's talk about that brand split. WWE is reportedly not going through with the brand split, despite the fact that they have plans to unify their tag team championship belts. Now, I do feel like merging the tag team championship belts was a last minute thing. There's also some rumors online that maybe Fox and USA aren't happy about title unifications, but quite honestly, I don't really buy into those rumors. As a pro wrestling fan, as somebody who's covered WWE when they didn't have a brand split, I was not in favor of WWE not having a brand split. I really hated when the rosters were not separated. I'm not saying the brand split is perfect by any means. There's a lot of things I would change about the brand split, but I think pro wrestling is better when the brands are separated. Not everybody's going to agree with that. I know that for a fact, but I believe that having these titles being merged is actually going to make them feel a little bit more important as they bounce from show to show. I think this is also a great thing for Fox and USA to have the top guys on both shows without necessarily ending the brand split. So look, WWE ending the brand split would be bad news, but of course right now there seems to be no talk about the brand split happening or ending anytime soon, and that's a good thing. Now, you guys may have heard about Kushida leaving WWE. There's been a lot of talk about this over the weekend, especially because Fightful Select had dropped a report about Alexa Bliss being unhappy with creative direction in WWE. Now, Kushida has decided to leave WWE, again, according to Fightful Select. I think a lot of this really comes from understanding WWE and AEW and how they put on their shows. And I think there's a lot of people who don't necessarily want to understand it, and I get it. It's very difficult to want to understand something that you don't want to understand. But the thing is, not everybody's meant to be a champion. Not everybody's meant to be the top star. Not everybody's meant to go on to WrestleMania as the headliner. WWE and AEW are very, very much like a Hollywood film. It's very much like a sitcom. It's very much like a normal television show. You're gonna have your top. You're gonna have your top characters. Everybody else on the show is a supporting cast. I've been saying this for a long time. WWE signed Kushida at a time where they were signing a whole bunch of pro wrestlers, and to be honest with you, I thought that was a terrible decision. If you guys think what I say about AEW bloating up their roster now is bad, you should have seen what I said years ago when WWE was signing everybody from the indie wrestling world and from Japan and everything, right? WWE was just going on a huge splurge, spending money like crazy on a whole bunch of talent, and did absolutely nothing with them. So if you think I'm hard on AEW for it, imagine how I felt years ago when WWE did it. Kushida was never meant to be a top guy in WWE. And people saw Kushida go into Jacket Time with Ike Manjiro. And to me, that was a play test. That was a play test for WWE to see what would it be like if we put Kushida on the main roster without necessarily putting him on the main roster. Now, it looks like Ike Manjiro is embracing that role. It didn't really seem that way with Kushida. I think Kushida is very talented, but he's just not meant for WWE. And there is nothing wrong with that. There is nothing wrong with that. I think what was actually more surprising was to hear these reports about Alexa Bliss being unhappy in WWE, seeing that she's always been a high priority for WWE in years past. But it was always apparent to me that Kushida was just another signing, just another guy. And yes, he did some cool stuff with the Cruiserweight Championship. That was cool, but it was just the wrong time. It's just not the place for him, and there's nothing wrong with that. Kushida leaving, going to New Japan starting in June, that's going to be great. He's going to do great things out there. And I don't want to, I'm not saying this to defend WWE. I'm not even saying this to defend AEW. But you just have to learn that wrestlers in these companies have a role, and you have to embrace that role. The Miz is one of the best examples. We saw when Miz used to be an incredible Intercontinental Champion. It's been years since he's held a belt. But every single time he's thrust into TV, he's put with top stars, he's put with top acts, and the idea is not for Miz to be the most incredible athlete in there. The goal is not for him. His job is to make other people look good. He did the same thing with Logan Paul. He did the same thing with Bad Bunny. He just did it recently with Cody Rhodes. And he embraces this role, and I think because he embraces it so well, he's incredibly good at it. Now, yes, I think The Miz could very well be a world champion, but right now the priority seems to be Cody, Roman, Drew McIntyre, Kevin Owens, Seth Rollins. There seems to be people higher on that list. So if you're The Miz, what you got to do is embrace that and show WWE that eventually you deserve that role. Look at Lashley. Lashley left WWE, came back. Lashley ate shit, bro. People forget that Lashley was doing the storyline with Rusev and Lana. It was stupid. But now he's actually treated with respect. Sometimes it takes time, and you have to embrace those roles. So you can be unhappy about it, you can do whatever, or you can embrace it, get better, do the things that are asked of you, and do it really well. And I think your time will come. And I think a lot of people need to understand that about WWE and AEW. It's easy for guys to get lost in the shuffle because if there's only one world championship, and now in WWE's case, there's only one world championship, there's not a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of guys out there. So go on TV, embrace your role, absolutely kill it. Yes, it sucks that Kushida's not with WWE, but I don't look at it as a bad thing. I don't look at it as he failed WWE or WWE failed him. It just was never a good fit. Now he could go back to New Japan, and hey, maybe he could show WWE exactly how they fucked up. And that is exactly what I like to see. And that's why it's not a big concern for me, him leaving, but it does go to show you that some people, they're not going to stay with WWE, and you just have to be willing to accept that before it happens. You guys may have heard of Booker T's comments on AEW Rampage. A lot of this stemmed from Rampage and their low viewership. On the Hall of Fame show that Booker T has, he shared his reaction to AEW's viewership decline, and he said a couple things that were really, really interesting to me. One of them being, I don't think you could put all the weight on Adam Page or anything like that because it's a show, right? They do a whole lot. They put a whole lot on that show. They stack the show. So I can't just look at it being, guys in the main event, as we used to say, thanks for the house, brother. I think it's a little bit different for those guys. Basketball might have been going on. Of course, Friday Night SmackDown was going on. A lot of stuff is going on Friday night to compete with. But there again, it does reflect on AEW not drawing 500,000 viewers to watch the show on a Friday night. That says a whole lot. It's hard for me to speak to it as far as numbers go because I don't really know how much they're spending for the shows. I don't know what their advertising dollars are or anything like that. I don't think the network is jumping for joy or having parties about having less than 500K people. I think there's got to be some kind of concern about that, but then again, they are a young company. And, Booker T, obviously a veteran in the business. He understands the business quite well. And I agree. I don't think this necessarily reflects on Hangman Page or Adam Cole or Ruby Soho or anybody else on the show. I think a lot of AEW Rampage viewership it's a struggle, right? AEW has a relatively young audience, and this young audience is absolutely 1,000% going to be busy on a Friday night. They're going to be busy on a Saturday night. Battle of the Belts did just over 500K viewers. Plus, Good Friday, Easter Sunday, this is a very, very big weekend for family. So I expect the viewership to be down. I don't know if TNT, TBS, Warner Media Discovery, I don't know how they feel about this, but when you look at the Rampage viewership, it has gone down. And it's not based on one person. I think there's a lot of circumstances that go along with this. I think the solution is moving Rampage to a 2-hour live show, and it has to be on a different night. And I think the way to do that would be Thursday nights. The issue is that you step into Impact, their time frame, their time slot. But you don't want to go head to head with WWE, but you want to have another good spot. It's very difficult. There's only 7 days a week, and wrestling's on every single day. It's not an easy solution. I don't know what the solution is, but what I do know is that I think the circumstances surrounding Rampage on Friday nights, it's just a disaster. And that's why I believe don't judge your shows based on the number of viewers, judge it based on the content. And it's up to AEW to make sure it's up to AEW to make sure that the shows are booked correctly and properly and exciting. It's up to them to make a show exciting. But I think there are other factors that impact it, and that's what the issue is. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. As always, I'll keep you updated 7 days a week. Don't forget to click subscribe for more.